pregnancy within the evening. This means that there are auspicious and inauspicious moments when any activity can be performed, including the husband and wife combining sexually for the sake of producing children. So depending on the time, the children born of the union of the husband and wife, either good children or the bad children. Now this time factor, you should understand, indicates that we are all controlled. Somebody may desire, I want to have nice children. But then you are not completely independent as regards any activity, including that of begetting good children. So the scriptures direct us that we have to adhere to certain rules and regulations in all our activities that we perform for the sake of getting good results in all our activities. Now a higher consideration than just merely good or bad result in performing activities is explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Higher consideration is whether the result is good or bad, is the activity itself going to lead to material bondage or material bondage. This is very important. Except for devotees, others don't have this understanding about the result of an activity being material bondage or liberation from material bondage. So right in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yajnarthat karmanaha anyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. Just in half a verse, Krishna clarifies this. All activities have to be performed as yajna if at all you want freedom from material bondage. If you don't perform an activity as yajna, then certainly there will be. Within the consideration of material bondage, there is of course papa and punya. But the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam are teaching us to rise above both this papa and punya and come to the stage of acting on the spiritual platform. On the spiritual platform, there is no material bondage. So automatically, on the spiritual platform, when any activity is done as yajna, yajna means any activity performed for pleasing Vishnu, the Supreme Lord. All such activities give you the best result, not just good result or bad result. The best result, the topmost result. There is no question of the result may be good or bad. When an activity is performed on the spiritual platform, when an activity is done as yajna. Yajna guarantees the best results. Perform all activities as yajna. Now, how to perform this particular act of begetting good children? That means sex life when exclusively for begetting children. And there, begetting children means begetting devotees. So the grihastha-ashrama, which is householder life, the grihastha-ashrama, there is a great responsibility of the husband and wife to actually engage in all activities as yajna, as sacrifice for the Supreme. Every activity. Whether it is earning money, whether it is begetting children, whether it is raising the family, whether it is serving the society, whatever be the activity, all activities are to be done as yajna. What about the other three ashramas? Brahmacharya, Vanaprastha and Sannyas. Brahmacharya, Vanaprastha and Sannyas, there are lot of restrictions which ensure that simply by acting as a responsible brahmachari, vanaprastha or sannyasi, one is doing every activity is yajna. Because there is restriction in association with women. Brahmachari, vanaprastha and sannyasi should not associate with women at all. Should not associate with women at all. Only grihastha, under restricted conditions, is allowed to associate with women, and that also for the purpose of yajna, for the purpose of dharma. So, Srila Prabhupada says sex life should be for begetting children and not any other purpose. Which means that the husband and wife can beget devotees by preparing their consciousness. More important than selecting the time for begetting good children is preparing the consciousness. That's why in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that whatever activity one may do, if one does that activity in Krishna consciousness, then there is no question of consideration of time, consideration of rules, consideration of regulation, restriction, nothing at all. But if somebody is not performing the activity as devotional service, not performing the activity as yajna, then there are so many rules to be followed if you want a good result. If you want the activity to be successful, then you should consider all the rules of the scriptures, dharma. The dharmic rules are very, very stringent. Just like here, Diti's husband, Kashyapa Muni, he is a Brahmana. He knows all the rules and regulations. So Diti has approached him to have good children. So Kashyapa is telling, yes, you can have good children, but the time that you have approached me now is not appropriate. And that will be explained in the next few verses about the right time and the wrong time for begetting children. But as far as devotees are concerned, as far as those who are performing all activities as yajna, those who are doing devotional service, there is no need to consider time if the consciousness is Krishna consciousness. In Krishna consciousness, there is no consideration of time. Simply by acting for the sake of pleasing Vishnu, acting in devotional service, every activity becomes perfect. Whatever time, whoever be the performer, it doesn't matter. There is no consideration of rules. There is no other rule. This is the topmost rule actually for any activity. Simply do every activity as yajna. Simply do every activity for pleasing Vishnu. Then what about the result of such activity? Now whatever be the result, because externally it may appear that even activities in devotional service are based on the time, place, circumstances. It appears like that. But actually, even though it may appear to be favorable or unfavorable for producing good result or bad result or whatever, an activity when performed properly according to the principles of devotional service will always give a spiritually beneficial result. Spiritually beneficial result. Now, there are a lot of examples in the Bhagavatam of different personalities begetting children. Now, at the beginning of the creation, this begetting children was a very responsible service to populate the whole universe with good progeny. So, at the beginning, there are Prajapatis. Who is the first Prajapati in the whole creation? Who is the first Prajapati? Brahma. No, even before Brahma. Brahma himself is born, takes birth. Vishnu. Garbhodakshai Vishnu is the first Prajapati. He gives birth to Brahma. Then Brahma is the next Prajapati who gives birth to so many different children who are born without Brahma having to combine with a wife. Without that, Brahma can produce children from his mind, from his different parts of the body, without any need for engaging in sex. That is a special empowerment for Brahma, because he is the empowered personality for creation, secondary creation. Then the Prajapatis, they beget children of different species according to the directions given by Brahma. According to the directions Brahma has received from Vishnu. So all the different species of the whole universe are created by the Prajapatis. All the different species. So there are instances, for example, Devaki and Vasudeva. In the 10th canto there is a description. Krishna appeared as the son of Devaki and Vasudeva. Now Krishna appearing, the Supreme Lord appearing as the son of Devaki and Vasudeva, of his devotees. Krishna says that is not the first time he has appeared. Earlier also twice he had appeared as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki only, in a different past lives. All the three times the Supreme Lord has incarnated through his devotees. Whenever the Supreme Lord comes to this world, at least assuming a human-like form, then he selects his devotees to appear in this world. So in the first instance, the Supreme Lord appeared as Prishni Garbha, appeared in the womb of Prishni. That's why it's called Prishni Garbha. Prishni and Sutapa, wife and husband. Great devotees. They underwent severe austerities to beget the Supreme Lord as their son. Severe austerities. Then again, as the son of Aditi and Kashyapa. Aditi and Kashyapa, the Supreme Lord appeared as Vamana. Vishnu only appearing as Prishni Garbha, Vamana, and in the third instance, as the son of Devaki and Vasudeva, he appeared as Krishna. All incarnations of the Supreme Lord. So, what is the consciousness of Devaki and Vasudeva? They want to do this service to the Supreme Lord. To have the Supreme Lord as their son, as their child, is devotional service. So, one may beget the Supreme Lord as one's child or son, or one may beget nice devotees, first class devotees as one's child. In either case, it is actually yajna, performance of devotional service. And such devotional service requires purifying the consciousness of all material contamination. What is this material contamination in the consciousness? It is the desire to enjoy materially, enjoy sense gratification. This is the contamination. In all our activities in this material world, anybody may perform, either in the upper planets or in the middle planets or in the lower planets, by humans or demigods or demons, by anybody other than the lower species, human species. All human beings are expected to act responsibly, perform the activity as yajna. There is a consideration of material bondage. The animals, the birds, the reptiles, the insects, the worms, they don't have developed consciousness. They are simply undergoing different terms of imprisonment in different bodies simply for experiencing some sukha or dukkha, some enjoyment or some suffering according to them. But in human form, there is responsibility that if one performs some activity as punya, then there is corresponding enjoyment, material enjoyment. And if somebody does papa, then there is suffering. But whether punya or papa, there is always material bondage. What is that material bondage? Repetition of birth and death. So, to end this repetition of birth and death is possible only in human form of life by performing activities as yajna, by performing devotional service. So this devotional service is very easy from one perspective. You see that one simply has to purify one's consciousness by the process of devotional service. Or one may adopt something other than the direct devotional service. One may actually perform severe austerities, or one may give in charity, or one may actually perform some fire sacrifice, or one may perform some other pious activities. But all those other methods of purifying the consciousness are very, very slow, very gradual, very prolonged. It takes very long time. It takes very long time. And it is prone to so many difficulties, so many obstacles. That is also explained in the Bhagavad. Just like Aditi, she wanted to have, she approached the Supreme Lord on the direction of her husband, that she wants her children who have lost their kingdom, Indra and his brothers, Adityas, they have lost their position as the rulers of the heavenly kingdom, because Indra was defeated by Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj belonged to the category of Asura, and Indra belongs to the category of Devata. So there are three categories of beings in the upper planets who are always competing with each other: the Devatas, the Asuras, and the Rakshasas. Ravana is an example of Rakshasa. Hiranyakashipu is an example of Asura, and Indra is an example of Devata. They are categories. They are categories of human beings. What's the difference? All of them are materially advanced, but the Devatas conduct themselves in the mode of goodness. They are predominantly in Sattva-guna. The Asuras are predominantly in Rajoguna, and the Rakshasas are predominantly in the Tamoguna. So when Sattva-guna dominates, the Devatas take advantage and they perform activities which give them success in all their endeavors. When Rajoguna dominates, see, each guna is defeating the other two gunas. That's explained in the Bhagavad Gita in the 14th chapter by Krishna. Sometimes Sattva-guna defeats Rajoguna and Tamoguna. Sometimes Rajoguna defeats Sattva-guna, and yet at other times Tamoguna defeats Sattva and Rajoguna. So when Sattva is dominating, the demigods are successful in all their activities. At different times, under different situations, in different circumstances, for different people. There's so many factors. It's not so easy to determine when which guna dominates. Like Bhagavad Gita explains in the 14th chapter, in the 17th chapter, in the 18th chapter, the eating habits can be sattvic, rajasic or tamasic. Depends on what you eat, when you eat, how you eat, what foods you eat. So many considerations are there. Sleeping. According to the sleeping habits, one may be situated in Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna. If somebody sleeps too much, then they are too much affected by Tamoguna. One sleeps too little, being very passionate to perform some activity for getting some fruitive result, then they are actually not able to sleep enough. So they forego sleep even to perform fruitive activity, rajasic activity. Day and night they'll be working. In the modern world, you see workaholics. They say workaholics. They work 18 hours, 16 hours in the factory or in their business or in the office. You would have seen many examples of the workaholics. They work to the extent of neglecting even their family, their personal health, their food, their sleep, everything they neglect, sacrifice. So, such people, they are not sleeping enough to even give some. They are in Rajoguna, they are influenced. Then Tamoguna, those who sleep too much. Those who are sleeping just enough to just maintain the body properly in healthy way. Not too much, not too little. They are actually predominantly in Sattva-guna. But whether Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna, all the three gunas are binding, there is material bondage. Even though Bhagavatam explains, Sattva-guna is the most favorable for devotional service. Sattva-guna is favorable provided one acts in Sattva-guna for purification of existence. One acts in Sattva-guna for purification of existence. Because Rajoguna and Tamoguna is not so favorable for purifying one's existence. But if somebody is directed by a bona fide spiritual master or is engaged in directly performing devotional service under proper superior guidance, then in any situation, at any time, in any condition, for any purpose some activity may be done, externally of course. Inside the consciousness is Krishna consciousness. Then all activities, such Krishna conscious activities, lead to purification of one's heart, lead to devotional service, lead to work being done as yajna. And the result is that you always get a spiritually beneficial result. Then you are not worried about whether the result is favorable for enjoyment or not favorable for enjoyment. Whether it is materially good or bad, you don't worry about that at all. Because devotees are not concerned with any material good or bad. According to Chaitanya Charitamrita, this materially something is good or bad is a mental concoction. Ultimately, nothing is good in this world. Because nothing lasts, everything is temporary. Antavattu phalam tesham tad bhavati alpamedasam. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, all the results of worshipping demigods, whatever be the result, good results, they are ultimately giving only temporary benefit. And all such benefits come to an end. The sword of time is always hanging on everybody's neck. Death is going to come, or the effect of the result of a good activity, so-called enjoyment or pleasure, material happiness, is going to end with time even before death comes. So, devotees understand this materially good or bad, it's simply mental concoction. So therefore, what do devotees do? Devotees simply engage in devotional service and depend on Krishna. Whatever result Krishna gives, they accept. And they know that all results given by Krishna are spiritually completely beneficial. Materially, somebody may say this result is good or not so good or bad or unfavorable. It entails some suffering or it is not very pleasurable. That is not important for devotees. So, even in the act of begetting children, one can be assured that if one performs the act of sex life for begetting children simply as devotional service, that means the parents combine in Krishna consciousness. So in our Krishna consciousness movement, Prabhupada has instructed us that if parents want to combine for begetting devotee children, then the parents have to actually chant 50 rounds of Hare Krishna mantra on a particular day. In fact, on any day. It doesn't matter which day of the week or month or tithi or nakshatra, nothing. When Krishna actually is the object of our worship, we are trying to do something for pleasing Krishna, then Krishna ensures the best result. Krishna ensures the best result. Krishna is satisfied, everything is perfect. On the other hand, some demigod, whether the demigod is pleased or the demigod is not pleased, the result will be something maybe materially good or materially not so good. But that is of no use. Ultimately, the parents and the children all are getting bound up in material entanglement. So there is no freedom. There is no ultimate freedom from material bondage. And material bondage means the four fundamental problems. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. And three fundamental miseries. Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika, Adhyatmika Klesha. Pious people, impious people, everybody suffers these four problems and these three miseries. Nobody is free. Even Indra, he is performing so many sacrifices to Vishnu, to please Vishnu, but with a desire for material power, material enjoyment. So that is not the standard of devotional service. That is not yajna. Yajna means you do something to please Vishnu and don't expect any material benefit, any material enjoyment. That's sacrifice. That is a real sacrifice. In devotional service, what is the sacrifice that devotees do? They sacrifice material enjoyment. They sacrifice material benefits. They sacrifice personal gain. For what? For the sake of pleasing Krishna, for the sake of satisfying Krishna, for the sake of purifying their existence, spiritual purification. Not material purification, spiritual purification. So they advance spiritually, and thereby whatever result they get, it is personally given by Krishna. This is very important to understand. Any result of devotional service is personally given by Krishna. It is Krishna Prasada. So the children born out of devotional activity of parents combining to produce a devotee child is Krishna's blessing, whatever be the kind of child that is born. But it's Krishna's blessing actually. So that we have to understand from a spiritual perspective. Performing activities in devotional service, we have to understand from a spiritual perspective. We should not materially evaluate the result. Materially evaluate. Just like when a child is born, generally they'll see whether the child is beautiful or it is ugly looking. Whether the child is, as a child grows up, they'll say, oh, my child is very intelligent, or my child is not so intelligent. What is the use of intelligence if that intelligence is going to be used to produce atom bomb? Intelligence is going to be used to make somebody a terrorist or somebody cheat the whole government. What is the use of intelligence? That parents don't think. Anyway, the child, whether intelligent or unintelligent, is going to bring so much misery, so much bondage for the parents if the child is not going to act as a devotee. The child doesn't grow up to be a devotee. So, the primary consideration is whether the child is devotionally inclined or not. Whether the child is devotionally inclined or not. Now again, somebody may say, we want to have a devotee child, but our child doesn't appear to be like a devotee because we are trying to train the child as a devotee and the child is not taking up devotional service. Now this is a mistake that parents make in evaluating externally whether the child is a devotee or a non-devotee. Externally it is not so important. Please remember this. External activities, especially a child, it doesn't understand what is devotional service. So it may act in a foolish way. But that doesn't mean the child is a devotee or non-devotee. No. It is the parents' endeavor to train the child. That is important. To train first of all, to beget the child in proper consciousness. And then to train the child. Even if somebody has not been able to beget the child in the proper consciousness because they didn't know about Krishna consciousness before begetting the child. If they endeavor to train the child as a devotee, they have done their duty. And be sure that whatever training you are trying to impart is definitely going to be effective and beneficial for the child, irrespective of how the child behaves, how the child accepts, how the child responds, how the child grows up. All that is not at all a consideration for the parents. Please remember this. All our devotional endeavors, not only regarding training children, even regarding any activity we may do at work, at home, in the society, you endeavor to do it as devotional service. You do it in a devotional attitude. You do it for spiritual benefit of yourself and everybody else involved. That's all. You can be 100% sure the benefit for you and everyone else is 100% spiritually beneficial. You are making advancement in Krishna consciousness, regardless of what the material evaluation of the result may be. That is very, very important. Children who are trained to be devotees, children who are begotten as devotees by parents, or trained as devotees, they definitely grow up to be devotees no matter what their other symptoms or behavior, external behavior may seem to be. Sometimes children, till they are about certain age, they may not show any devotional symptoms or characteristics. Suddenly you will see one day the children will, or when they're grown up, they will start reflecting all that the parents have told, parents have trained, and suddenly they become a devotee. I've seen cases like this in my own experience. I've seen parents who had trained their children as devotees, but they were a little disappointed when the child was little growing up in the adolescent stage, that my child is not accepting devotional practices so very favorably. But I was always telling the parents, please be patient. Please be patient. You may not even see your child to act in a devotional way, but be 100% sure all your training, all your efforts are not fruitless, never fruitless. This is one specific symptom or characteristic of devotional service. When you perform devotional service, result is guaranteed 100% success. This is very important to understand. When you perform any activity, you are chanting Hare Krishna. There is no question of failure in chanting Hare Krishna. When you come to the temple to have darshan of the deities, there is no question of failure in getting this spiritual benefit when you come to the temple. Sometimes they come and they say, oh, there is no darshan, I didn't get darshan. No, you are coming to the temple to have darshan. Itself is devotionally beneficial for you. You got the result of your intention to have darshan, even if you didn't have darshan. Actually, these things are not properly understood by people, because they always are materially evaluating every single activity, every single result they get out of performing some activity. All this material calculation has to stop when it comes to devotional service. Then only we can actually properly do devotional service. If we materially try to evaluate, then we are always making a mistake as to the real effect of devotional service, real benefit or real result. So we have to do the activity as devotional service with the proper attitude, in the proper way, following the simple principles of sadhana bhakti, and then we can be 100% assured of the best results in spiritual terms, not evaluated materially. You see, here the example is given that Diti, she didn't follow Kashyapa's instruction. Aditi, on the other hand, she followed Kashyapa's instruction. She followed Kashyapa's instruction. And Aditi begot, as a result of following Kashyapa's instruction, the Supreme Lord as her son. Supreme Lord said, I will appear as your son and I will restore your son's kingdom to him. Vamandev appeared as the son of Aditi. And Diti, what was the result? She didn't follow Kashyapa's instruction, and she begot Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu as two demons as her sons. And Diti was very unhappy. Still, she prayed to the Supreme Lord on the direction of Kashyapa. And then Kashyapa said, because the Lord is pleased with your prayers, so your grandson will be a great devotee. Your son is not a devotee, he's a big demon. He's going to be a big demon. But your grandson is going to be a great devotee. What happens? What is the result? The result is, even though Diti gave birth to the worst demons who terrorize the whole universe, but still her grandson delivered her sons, herself, 21 generations of the family. Everybody was delivered. You see, Diti followed her husband's instructions to pray to the Supreme Lord to pardon her for not following Kashyapa's instructions. And she did that. And she got the result of that. She got a devotee grandson, born to the worst of demons. Hiranyakashipu's son, Prahlada, was a great devotee. So, extraordinary things can happen in devotional service. So where is the calculation going to work? Material calculation. Hiranyakashipu's son, Indra, thought is going to be another demon. He was about to actually kill the child as soon as it was born from the womb of Hiranyakashipu's wife, Kayadu. So Indra was actually taking away Hiranyakashipu's wife, so that as soon as the child is born, before the child grows up into a big demon, let us kill the child as soon as it is born. Narada Muni told the child inside this mother's womb, Hiranyakashipu's wife's womb, is not a demon. It's a great devotee. Narada Muni identified and told Indra, don't kill this child. Indra immediately, respecting Narada Muni's words, he actually, not only he set free Hiranyakashipu's wife, but he even circumambulated the mother to respect the child inside, which was a devotee. He actually paid respects to the devotee, child within the mother's womb. So, my point is that if somebody performs devotional service, the result is guaranteed. 100% guarantee. So with this understanding, you should always perform devotional service. All activities you should do as devotional service, and with this understanding and the proper attitude, you should do devotional service. I'll stop here. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.